Good evening. This is Awake and Aware. It is Sunday, December 20th, and I am Nick Angel. I am super glad that you guys are here. This is a special show. It's a little different day than probably any of our lifetimes. There's something happening in the zodiac. And I'm just going to wait just a couple seconds here, wait for a few people to join us before we get started. Just going to play some fitting background music here, considering of what's going on in the zodiac right now. It's this crazy thing called winter solstice, which is kind of a big deal. And let's see if we can get this to, there we go. Cool. But there's actually a cool song that I want to play. I'm definitely going to get demonetized for playing this. I don't own the rights to this music, but we're just using it for mental health purposes and just to keep things flowing along here. If I can figure out how to search this while I'm talking at the same time and see if I can multitask. They have changed up all this software, and I don't really know what the deal is with that, but we'll figure that out. It's okay. Let's see here. Good job, Apple Music. I don't see it. Well, anyway, if you're just joining us, this is Awake and Aware. It's Sunday, December 20th. I'm Nick Angel, and this is a special show because there's so much going on up in the heavens above us today, tomorrow, and this week, and has been a lot going on. We started out last week. We had the lunar eclipse and we had the solar eclipse. And then this morning we're going to have the winter solstice, but at the same time, it's an amazing thing. Jupiter and Saturn are coming into alignment and are at 0 degrees in Aquarius, which is a super big deal because these are the two biggest planets in our, two of the biggest planets, Jupiter being the biggest. And it is actually it's very slow moving. So is Saturn. They move so slow in the sky that they're going to be in Aquarius for a couple months. So that's a big interesting thing, and we're going to talk about that as we go on into the show. And then the biggest thing that is something that's happening in our lifetimes only happens every 2,600 years, and it's amazing when you think about it. It takes almost 26,000 years for the sun to move all the way through the zodiac, and for the next 2,600 years, we are going to be in Aquarius. So you better get strapped in. You better get ready for it because there's no avoiding it. It's here. It's gonna be here to stay. So let's just get started. Again, I'm Nick Angel, and welcome to Wake and Wear. And let me go ahead and roll this intro. I'm up. Welcome back. Okay, guys, I appreciate you guys joining us. So if you're just joining us, this is Awake and Aware, and tonight we're going to be talking about the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. Like, as I was just saying before I rolled the intro, is that this is a special time going on in the universe right now, and it's like the very first it's the very first sentence in a chapter of a book. You know, imagine a book having 12 chapters, and this month or this particular time is like the very first word, very first sentence of a whole chapter. But this chapter lasts for 2,600 years, and that's not exact. It's like 25 and change. But can you imagine just being part of something that's going to, like we think, like if you were born in 1901, of course you recognize that you're part of the beginning of the century, which we have been part of the year 2000. That's just a century. That's 100 years. Could you imagine for the next 26 centuries? Just our history barely goes back 2,600 years. I mean, it goes back further, but our written history pretty much goes back 2,600 years, if you think about that. That's a big deal. So all of the intelligence that we've gathered has been in knowledge and science and history that of our civilized culture has been in the last 2,600 years. And here we are moving into the next 2,600 years. So if you can imagine, if we're right at the cusp of 2,600 years, what it was like in the last 2,600 years, like we're starting at ground zero. Can you imagine what it'll be like 2,600 years from now? Hopefully we'll have flying cars. Hopefully there'll be food to eat for everybody. Hopefully medicine will have surpassed all diseases. Hopefully we'll be able to live as long as we'd like to live. Hopefully crime's been eradicated. Hopefully we've got some serious space exploration going on, and hopefully we've met other cognizant, living, conscious beings other than what lives on this planet. And, because I didn't say aliens because I believe octopuses are already aliens. I know I'm a weird guy. And I have this thing for octopuses. They're just a little too smart for their own good. I don't think they developed that hanging out in the ocean. I think they came here with. I'm kidding. So I really want to talk about the dawning of the age of Aquarius and what that means to us. First off, to anybody who doesn't know what the zodiac is, let's kind of talk about that for just a second. Let's see if I can put this graphic up here. Yeah, here we go. So what this is this is our night sky. And these are constellations that make up a 360 degree view. You imagine the Earth and our solar system is in the center of this from our perspective. And as we look out, we can see these different star patterns. Here's Aquarius. We're moving from Pisces into Aquarius. And then we have Capricorn, which is January, and so on and so on, like these processions. And what happens is the way we see the sun from the Earth moves through these processions. And so if you're born in as a Capricorn, that meant when you were born, the sun was in Capricorn, and it moves through. And so basically what these are these are 30 degree segments from each month. Here, let me point this out. So these lines right here from here to here is a 30 degree segment, and those 30 degrees are what make up the zodiac, because it's not really agreed upon by every scientist, astrologer, astronomer, as to what separates these, but what's most widely agreed upon is these 30 degree segments. And you divide this whole thing up by 12, that gives you 360 degrees, which is pretty easy to remember. So that's why we have 12 houses, or 12 zodiacs. Now, there's some people who believe that these should be divided by 27 degrees, which are, because of our lunar month, is 27.5. And you can divide that into 360 and you get 13. So then you would actually have 13 zodiacs. And you've heard some people have claimed that there's actually 13 signs. Oh, that's just a different way of looking at it. However you look at it, is each one of these large constellations are the precession of our sun. Now, what happens is we're no longer looking at just our perspective of the sun. We're looking at our solar system completely being in this segment, and it's not for just the month where the sun is. This is where we will be for the next 2,600 years, which is, let me turn this around again. And in here, we will be in this segment here for the next 2,600 years. And we were just leaving from up in here. And so when you think about that, it's kind of a big deal. We've been in Pisces, which is a water sign. We've been in Pisces for 2,600 years. And so now we're moving along, and we're going to be picking up different energies, seeing different things in the night sky, things that we've never seen before. This is actually new territory for scientists, astrologers, spiritualists, religious people. This is even thrown it out there, is this is when the Mayans suggested that the world was coming in 2012, December, I think it was December 12th or December 21st, in 2012. The way I have it understood is that it was supposed to be December 21st, 20, and that would be today is our calendar didn't line up exactly with theirs. And again, it's not the end of the earth. It's the end of energies the way we know it. Supposedly, the way most astrologers believe is this will create such a shift. And I'm inclined to believe some of this, because in the next 2,600 years, of course, everything's going to change. But we're going from almost opposite energy to an opposite energy. And what I mean by that is water is opposite to air. And even though there's water in air and there is air in water, but they are very well connected to each other, but they operate differently. Give you an example: water pours into a glass, air escapes out of the glass. So they kind of go in opposite directions. And that's kind of a big deal if you think about it. Imagine doing everything. Imagine walking backwards to work, or imagine, standing up and sleeping. I'm not suggesting that we're going to do some weird stuff like that. What I'm suggesting is that we will start to perceive things completely in opposite ways. And the reason being is energies around us will be operating differently. And I'm kind of looking forward to that, because we were coming to the end of something, and we've been alive to the very end of it. And that's where, we've heard the mentioning, we've all heard the song, The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius. I'm not going to play it for, it's by Fifth House. It was big in a play called Hair. And they mention that there's a conjunction. They mentioned Saturn and Mars, but it was just creative and artistic. But the interesting thing is we do have a conjunction happening in the night sky tomorrow, which is Saturn and Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet that they will both be at this one. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. At this line right here, they will, at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, they will be on that line right there, the both of them at 0 degrees, meaning they are starting at the same time. So what's interesting is as we're coming into Aquarius, and these things are happening too. So Jupiter, being the largest planet, kind of rules our work ethic, and some of our tougher lessons in life. So to move from a water sign with Jupiter into an air sign, boy, that's going to be added much relief that we all need on the work front. Like less worries, less troubles. Things should be a whole lot easier. One of the interesting things about water is that it seeks its own level. And I realize that these are just symbolic, but anybody following astrology knows that this stuff really does have an effect on us, and the symbols are there for a reason. Let me just cut this music down just a tad bit. And so we're having Jupiter moving into Aquarius, and so is Saturn. And they're both going to be in the night sky, and we'll be able to see them together. A lot of people are looking at them through telescopes. You can probably just Google it and see them outside. You can even probably walk outside and see them right now. And that's the beautiful thing is people haven't been able to see these together in the night sky for almost 800 years. Now, it happens every 400 years. Actually, I think it happens every 200 years. But the thing is it's not always visible. But since this time it's happening, it's visible, but also it's visible and it's happening in the night sky. So this is why they're calling it the Christmas stars, because we're close to Christmas. This is not, this is not actually the star Bethlehem, which also wasn't a star, it was another conjunction, but it wasn't Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. So calling it the Christmas stars kind of has a lot of people confused. So I just wanted to shed a little light on that. But when you go outside and look at it, it definitely looks like a star. So there have been times where in history, a lot of times before we were into maybe the golden age, a lot of conjunctions were confused to be stars, and people believed that they were appear and then disappear and thought that that had something to do with the gods. So whether or not there's any merit to any of that, interestingly enough, astrology is a science, and it's also performed quite often as a pseudoscience. I'm kind of a dabbling astrologer, and I learn as I go along, and I kind of like to stay more to the science side versus so much of the metaphysical side when it comes to astrology, because there's just a lot of stuff that just isn't, it's not really worth my time. And the reason that I say it's not worth my time is because I don't know who wrote it. I don't know when they came up with these, these predispositions, and whether or not they're based in science. So there's only a few books that I follow in astrology. I'll drop some links to that later. So if you're really into, I'm kind of into astronomy and astrology. I like the two together. And I think, the scientific method is coming up with a hypothesis and then doing the research and testing that to see if there's any truth to that, whether or not that can be repeatable over time. Give you an example. I saw a meme recently where they asked or how many serial killers were in each zodiac sign. And there's a clear pattern, as in there's like a few signs that just don't exist on this chart. It's only 4 or 5 signs that the majority of serial killers are in. Now, that's the scientific method. I'm not saying that there's it's too small of a batch to prove anything, but that type of thinking is what is using astrology for science. But again, there's not enough data, because you would have to sample, because first off, we don't know every serial killer that's out there, and these are the only ones that have been caught, documented. And then also, I hate to even talk about serial killers on here, but you catch my drift. I'm not talking about them. I'm just using it as an example of how science works with astrology. So it's not all. Let me go see check my daily astrology and get a fortune cookie, and I have no clue what that means, or where it's from, or who wrote it, or what science is behind that. But the science that I do follow in astrology is, yeah, I love some cereal too. So the science that I do follow in astrology is predispositions. And these are things where we have looked at subsets of people and see that there are predispositions there's people who've looked for prolonged life path, like which sign lives longer. I think Cancers actually lived the longest, but it's so minuscule. It's just a blip. So there's a difference in each of the signs you can look for, but we don't have enough data because we've only been really looking into this scientifically for a short period of time. And then we don't really have any clear indicators. But what we can tell you is how astrology does affect. First off, if you're a female, you can absolutely see that the moon affects your menstruation. Police are even aware of this. Hospitals are aware of this. If you ever go to a hospital on a full moon, I bet you they're a lot busier than they are any other day. And there's some science behind this, but so to anybody who's not a believer in astrology, let me give you an example of an effect of the heavenly bodies. Have you ever gone fishing and you had to wait to see what time the tides went in and out? Well, the moon is literally picking the ocean up and then setting it down. That is absolute proof that the heavens affect us. And I'm not talking about, of course, we know the sun, everything is given life through the energy from the sun. But if you recognize all water on Earth is being affected by the tidal forces or gravitational forces of the moon. And the moon is this big compared to our planet. And Jupiter is this big compared to our planet. So if you can imagine that this has that great of an effect, if you just even think about the water in your body and that you're, 90+% water, then you have to know that these great heavenly bodies are affecting you. And so this is a social change. And what I mean by a social change is Jupiter moves so slow that it's going to be in Aquarius for quite some time. I think it takes almost 2 years and change to move. And Saturn, I think, moves a little bit faster. It'll be in Aquarius for a year. But to think about that, what this means is as a society, we're going to feel the effects of this. And this isn't just, your birth sign. This is something that's going to be, we're going to feel for the next couple years, and really will have effect on the way that we think, the ideas that people are having. Hopefully there's some real scientific advances from this. This is the kind of things that really come about. And just, if we think at the turn of the century, from the 1900s, from the 1800s to the 1900s, was the Industrial Revolution, which completely changed things. I mean, the way everything about our lives, all the technology that we have, has shaped and molded our society, and that came at an early time. And here we are now, where we have drones. This is something that we were, in 1990, we would have never thought about Amazon delivering something via drones, or that we could order food and just have it delivered to our houses via Ubers and all these different things. These are things that we weren't thinking about 10, 20 years ago. But it's not just the technology, not that it was so, but it's the way that it changed our society, and that we're very susceptible to that. So as we move into this new Aquarian age, which is an air sign, the type of thinking that is available to that is just going to be astronomical. Our thoughts should be way out. I've already experienced it in the last 2-3 days. It started to, I felt the shift. I can close my eyes and see 5D, man. I can see times and places and shapes and energy and light. I'm just one of those people that have been blessed to have waken up. I mean, whether it's a blessing or not, the energy that I've felt a shift, and I'm grateful for it. So another thing I want to talk about is this winter solstice. Let's see here. Let me pull this up if I can. Cool. So, know a lot of people aren't really sure what the winter solstice is, but let me see if I can take a stab at this. There we go. So this tilt, this axis right here, I believe it's 23 degrees. And that's the axis that the Earth is on to the sun. It's, and the reason that axis, you say, well, what does that axis even mean? Well, the Earth is spinning on that axis. And that line right there is the equator. And so the Earth is spinning in that direction around these poles. It's kind of difficult for, there we go. And it's spinning on those poles. And in relation to the sun, what happens is the sun is always in the southern hemisphere of the Earth. And what happens is right the way this tilt is you get this much night. There's more night right here than there is day. And so when the winter solstice happens, we actually have the longest night of the year. And so that's metaphorical for many reasons. But if, you know, our grandfathers and great-grandfathers and grandmothers used Farmer's Almanac, which was all of this information about the planets and the movements, and this is how they would predict how long winter would last, which was, you know, we don't, you know, we're inconvenienced by winter via the snow. But could you imagine not having cars or grocery stores and had to hunt for food, didn't have refrigeration, you know, had to chop wood and logs. Some people still have to do stuff like this, but this was a very big deal because people died in the winter. Tons of people just didn't make it through from the end of fall to the beginning of spring. And even just the beginning of spring was not always, oh, well, great, there's a whole bunch of food out there. So it was very important. And if a lot of people don't know, I want to talk about the pagan ritual real quick. Yule, which was bringing in a fir tree, and the fir tree they would hang upside down. And the reason they'd bring in a fir tree or an evergreen tree, and the reason they're called evergreen, is that they stayed green all year round. And they believed that bringing this tree into the house would keep them alive through the winter. And that's where the pagan ritual of Christmas trees came in. And that's what the Christmas tree is all about, is lasting through the winter. So this is this diagram here is about the winter solstice, which Holly said it's this year at 5:02. Well, that's Eastern, yep, Monday, which is this morning. So if you're not Eastern time, it actually happens a little bit earlier than that, because we're not the only people on the planet. It's not the only time zone on the planet, and it actually affects probably half the planet at any given time. So there's a 12-hour. It's almost, if I had to guess, it probably starts at about midnight tonight. Well, it depends on where you're at. Maybe it is just 5:02 Eastern time. Because I think the sun first hits Greenland, which is a couple hours out of Eastern time. So Eastern time zone doesn't get the sun first. I think Greenland gets the sun first, and then the first in America is a spot in Maine. I think they got Florida beat by like 13 seconds. Why I know that, I have no clue. So anyway, so we have the winter solstice going on, which is a big deal for us on a yearly event. We have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happening, starting into Aquarius as we pull into the Aquarian age, the 2600, the 2500 plus year phase where we are moving through the Milky Way. I mean, and then just last week we had the solar eclipse, and the week before that we had the lunar eclipse. Is this just too much coincidence for you guys? Because I got to tell you, for me, it's it seems like it was divinely planned, huh? I mean, you know, I've seen a lot of things in life where things just seem to be like, there's just no way to think that there was any other way than that this was meant to be. Now, can you imagine back in say 1200 BC, where a civilization was able to count with stones and sticks and the sunlight, and know that in 2,000 plus years, this is exactly what was going to happen to the procession of knowing the solstice, what days they were going to be on, and so on. Like, that's just amazing when you think about the Mayan civilization and how well, and not just the Mayan civilization, there were others, the Druids in Europe, the Mayans and the Incans. There's plenty of cultures that the Egyptians that were really good at recognizing that we had this solar system and the way and that there were planets and that they were moving without telescopes. Without, literally, they had to do this with their naked eye. And I'm sure they did some stuff to cut down some light And they did. They were up on mountaintops, and they built pyramid. And one of the reasons they built pyramids was to observe the stars. And it's just, to cut out light. And it's just an amazing thing when you think about how civilizations were doing this without computers, without telescopes, without satellites, without radio antennas. It's just mind-blowing when you think about it, that our ancestors predicted that we would be here doing what we're doing and coming into this age. And I've been looking forward to this one for a while, like ever since I heard the song from Hair. And so I'm grateful for this. So what can we do? What does this mean to us? This is all esoteric and super metaphysical and super out there for a lot of people. Like, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to me going to work? What does this mean? How do I feed my family? How does this get me through the winter? Why is this important to us in our civilization? Is this going to get me more likes on Facebook? What does this mean to the average person today? Is the average person just oblivious that we're moving into something that only happens every... See, this doesn't just happen every 2,600 years. We won't be into Aquarius again after this happens for 2,600, for a whole nother 23,000 years. So, this is a big deal. Because the last time we changed into a different zodiac was 2,600 years ago. And here we are going into something that never in recorded history do we know what it was like. And so from moving from the last zodiac into Pisces, which I believe was Capricorn. Let me pull this back up again. Well, it says I guess it was Aries, excuse me. So moving from a fire sign into a water sign, I can't imagine like that when they said, oh, that was the end of the world. Maybe that really was for them. Maybe that was the end of all kinds of, because it was such a shifting, fire to water. We already know what fire does to water, right? So air and water work well together. So this hopefully should be a better shift. And so, that's why I just wanted to talk about that tonight, and just talk about the solstice and the conjunction. And, we only got a few more days in 2020. Like if this hasn't been the energy, like the end funk of, like everything that was predicted about the end of the Piscean age has kind of happened, man. Like, like biblically, there's some stuff about politics, and yeah, that's kind of shown up. And then they talk about plagues. Well, that's kind of shown up. And, we've had all these star things happening. And, there's been all these weird energies. And, like I've had some serious sleep issues, just some sleep pattern changes. What about you guys? Leave it in the comments below, and let us know how these energies have been affecting you this year. And, let's see here. So I had a couple people join us. If anybody's got any questions about anything going on astrologically, the zodiac conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, it's kind of a big deal for us. Again, Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for a year, and Jupiter will be in there for two plus years. So in Aquarius, that's a big deal. So I mean, like these are things that affect us work wise, and career wise, and goal wise, and falling into which is a prosperous sign, house, which is the Aquarian sign. You got to think about it. It's water pouring out in abundance, and I mean, that's the symbology of it, even though it's not a water sign, which I could never understand. So why do they have a guy or girl pouring out water when it's an air sign? But if you think about it, as he's pouring, the reason the water comes out is because air is moving in. If there was air pressure on the water, it wouldn't pour out of the glass. It's interesting how to think that they swap places, as we're swapping places from the Piscean water sign into the Aquarian water sign. And so that's a big deal for us. And then moving into the Aquarian age, it's another big deal for us for a long time. And me being I'm an air sign. If you guys don't know, I'm a Libra, and I'm an air sign. And clearly I'm pretty heady. I'm looking forward to moving out of the water and into the air and kind of going with the flow. They both go with the flow. Water goes with the flow, and so does air. So I don't think this is going to be a real hard shift, like going from fire to earth or earth to water, or even earth to air. This is going to be, we're going to flow right into this. We've got 2021 coming up, and there's some amazing zodiac stuff in 2021 as well. So we got a lot to look forward to. But so what's really the shift here is we're supposed to get lighter. And this, I don't mean this physically, I mean mentally. I think that's going to be a big thing for a lot of people suffering from anxiety. Let's see. Hey man, get you one of these shirts, Art. Help you get that. And then let's see. Tish said, "Is the Saturn return a time for positive change? I'm feeling it." So both Saturn and Jupiter can be part of some of our heavier stuff in life. But most astrologers believe, and I'm in agreement, since it's at 0 degrees, this is a big deal. Like, this is like, and it's not only 0 degrees coming into the Aquarius, it's 0 degrees coming into Aquarius when we're coming into Aquarius for the first 20. Absolutely. This is the most auspicious thing that could, I mean, I don't think I could pick it. I mean, other than all the planets lining up, I don't think there's anything more that we could really, ask for that's heavy. Like that's really, really, like, these are, Saturn and Jupiter are moving, but they're moving slow. Now, Aquarius is fixed. I mean, it's moving too, but it's so far away and so large that our whole lives, we won't see it move. Like, we just can't see it move at all. That's the whole thing about relativity. So this is going to define our lives. Like, we're not, most people like, oh, I can just change my sign. Doesn't matter what my zodiac is. That's just my predisposition. I can grow into whatever I want to be. Well, guess what? You ain't changing none of this. They are there. They're there to stay for a while, and we're just going to have to roll with whatever it is. And I promise you, this is going to be all good stuff. Like, now, you got to remember, this is just the beginning. So I don't expect huge changes overnight. But some people are feeling it. I've had a couple people contact me that they were like, man, I felt a huge shift from yesterday's energies to today's energies. Now tell me about that. What about you guys? Did you feel the shift from last night to today? Because I woke up entirely, I woke up, read my email, and my energy shifted 100% from yesterday, what it was. I had to do some serious work to put a smile on my face today, and nothing really was bad or anything. It's just, it felt like every little thing was getting to me, and I had to go through all my little processes to just get to flowing and recognizing that bringing the joy back into my life. Again, there was nothing really wrong. It was just a shift in energy, and became aware of it. So there's a few people on here. I'm down to take a phone call. I'm going to put the number up. So if anybody wants to call in and take part in this, I say let's do it. I'm open. Don't feel obligated if you don't want to call in. But if you do, if you want to come in and talk about the Aquarian age, let's talk about it. take these numbers down. I might be having a little technical difficulty too at the moment. Trying to pull in some sound here and have been having some issues. So we'll hold off on that phone call. So if anybody has any other questions about what's going on in the universe today, tomorrow, this morning, you drop them in the chat there. And if anybody else has got anything, you guys feel free to answer some of this stuff too. This is something that civilizations were planning for, built around. If you think about it, like somebody built their whole civilization around what's happening tomorrow morning. Like, they're not even here anymore, but whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I can't get into that. But they built pyramids, they built step pyramids, they built Stonehenge. These are things that are still standing from 2,600 years ago. You got to think about that. People built their civilizations around what's happening today 2,600 years ago, knowing this was going to happen. And I don't think they were giving us warnings. They were letting us know and be prepared for this. This is civilization at its to be able to shift into this. If you could just imagine, if I thought about what 5,000 years ago was like to the people 2,600 years later. They had boat travel. They had, I don't think we were quite in the Bronze Age yet, but they did have metal. They had minerals. They had dye. They had clothing. They had looms. They had technology. And that just made a huge difference for people. And they started to come together as a civilization. And I recently heard this anecdote about when civilization started. And a lot of people think civilization started when we first started finding bones and bodies and pottery and stuff. And they said, no, that's not when civilization started. When civilization started is when we found the first mended, broken bone. And what that means is a person may have broken a leg, but then was taken care of by another human being long enough to be able to mend their bone, which is 2 to 3 months, which again, that's somebody you have to do extra work for, to feed them, to clothe, to keep them safe, keep them from not being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So that's when civilization started. So for us, civilization is when we started taking care of each other. So let's say it was 5,000-6,000 years ago that we started finding people who had mended healing 5,000 years ago. So we've had civilization for that. That's the Piscean age, and that's the Aries age, which we moved through. And big, huge jump in technology in the Piscean age, 2,500 years ago. We had boats, we had interglobal travel. There were people traveling throughout the globe on boats. If there's any other technologies that you could think of that really, really changed life, maybe in the last 5,000 years, and then coming into the 2,600 years after that, we had tools. We had carpentry. We started using wood and learn not just using wood, but when I say carpentry, we started building buildings, cathedrals, and we learned the secrets of the arch and all these things, and the dome and things that were architecture. Oh yeah, look at that. Art said they also started legit dentistry and other medical healing. So we know about Paracelsus or Paracelsus. It just depends on how you want to pronounce his name. Was the father of medicine. And also in the Egyptian, you have Thoth. He was the first engineer, but was also considered to be one of the first doctors as well. So you have, then was called alchemy, but bringing of medicine. That was 2,600 years ago. So at the end of all of that, they came into what became, I don't want to say modern medicine, but became alchemy, which then does become modern medicine. I mean, like, to think about that, like that prolonged, that gave, if the average lifespan of a person was in their late 20s, and then all of a sudden started to become their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's doubling the lifespan. That's life after death. Yeah, I mean, if the Egyptian, you got to think about it. If a person, you live to be 30, kings lived to be 30, now we're living to 70, 80, 90, 100 years. I mean, that's 3 lifetimes. I mean, if you think about that, that's a big deal. That's put that into perspective. Maybe that is life after death from our ancestors' perspectives. So then, after the last 2,600 years, like, let's just look at, it's not just technology, but what does civilization look like? Like, we have global communication now. Like, I know what's going, I can just go on Facebook and look and see what's going on in China or Russia or another country or Europe and watch something or another person at another side of the world live. That's never been, you know, I know a lot of people talk about, oh, technology just gives us what we have psychically. No, not even close. Listen, if I leave my body, you know, I can go anywhere and be part of anything. But in these bodies, like, we're limited. I can't just, I can remote view one place, but I could look at a screen and see 100 places now. Tell me how you could do that. I guess maybe you could do that psychically too. It's probably a psychic gift, but it's something you have to develop. I don't have to develop anything. I can be dumb as rocks and walk into a sports bar and see 12 different sporting events at the same time and choose whatever one I want to watch. So I'm not trying to demnify our psychic abilities or gifts or praise technology. I'm just saying it's here. It's part of what is. And if you recognize, the universe uses technology, uses gravity, uses time, uses light, uses sound. These are all the things that we're using in technology. So I don't want to say they're natural, but they're definitely from the universe. Universal conscious knowledge created technology for us, and it's part of this construct, and it's here. And it's a beautiful thing that we're starting to use it, but it's definitely affecting our civilization. The fact that I can use a telephone and call, like, sometimes I get misty-eyed when I get to talk to a loved one. Thanksgiving, you know, we weren't able to travel because of the pandemic, but my whole family got together and we got to play video games, or we played trivia and stuff via a Zoom call. Like, I can't even. I'm so grateful. But here we are at the end of the Piscean age, and that's where we're at. Listen, flying cars exist. They, just because they haven't, it's bureaucracy that stopped them. But we have flying cars. We have food pellets. We have meal replacement. Everything that's in the Jetsons is a reality. We have skyscraper. I mean, to a certain extent, but it's there. I mean, if you look into space and SpaceX and what, not Tesla, but Elon Musk and what he's building, and I mean, like, that's the Jetsons, bro. Like, we have robots. We have robots building cars. We have assembly line robots. We have robotics. We have suits that can help people walk who couldn't walk. We have robots doing surgery. You know, we are 100% exactly where, you know, the only thing I'm kind of miffed about is these hoverboards. Like, hoverboards just never became a thing. And that was totally supposed to be a thing. One thing I've heard about hoverboards is they are so dangerous. Like, there's nothing to keep them in place. So if you don't keep your balance on one, you're eating pavement, and that's not a really good thing. But, you know, we have the guy who created the Segway and the fake hoverboards with wheels. You know, those exist, but I think the technology's there. I just don't think one is so many people would get hurt on them. It's just not a thing. But it's okay. I know it's available. It's just not, marketing has not made it widestream. But to think that every movie I've seen about the future exists. Like they're sci-fi. I just read the other day in a science journal that we've actually created full sustained teleportation. Now, of course, it's not of people yet, but that's it. You make one simple thing and you figure out how to make it complex and to get it to a vast amount. We'll be teleporting, and we have pretty much have the formula for space travel, whether it be a light sail or all different kinds of things. It's just mass producing these things. And the big thing about space travel is just getting large things into space. But if we can figure out how to terraform either Mars or take resources from the moon, it'll be not too long that we'll be doing long distance space travel. So, the fact that this stuff's not sci-fi anymore is reality. And here we are right at the end of this 2,600 year thing, and technology is to an extreme. Wellness is to an extreme. Listen, we don't just have modern medicine. We have Eastern, Western medicine that come together. We have spiritual healing. We have Reiki. I mean, think about it. we have tons of types of healing available to us. Meditation. We're talking about putting meditation in elementary schools. I mean, where do you think we'll be? Like this is becoming our norm. Where do you think we'll be in 2,600 years? I can't even fathom. I mean, to me, it won't be so much. I mean, listen, people are talking about putting microchips in people's brains. Now, I don't think that's necessary for us to advance as a society. But, I mean, if you had a pair of glasses that could Google for you as you're thinking about it and then give you the information, I guess that makes you the Borg. Any Star Trek fans out there, I guess that's super close to what that is. And then maybe that's dangerous because, maybe what happens if the computer decides to take over and becomes more powerful? These are things to think about. Our questions that we're going to be asking in the future aren't going to be so small anymore because we have society, we have roads, we have bridges, we have sustainable food. We're coming into an age where we're going to have sustainable water. And we're going to start cleaning up our act, and we're going to be taking care of the planet. And that means that we're going to have better communication with animals and be able to observe. We're also going to preserve the planet. We're going to recognize that there's so many things that we have to keep for our own success and the health of this planet. We're going to start to preserve that stuff, and we're going to be able to learn from that. And we're going to be able to look at nature and recognize that we have to keep a lot of this stuff, and we have to learn from this stuff still. And the sky is no longer the limit. Space is unlimited. So my first company, if anybody doesn't know, is the first name of my company was Universal Space Unlimited. My father's company, he left it to me, left me the name. It was Universal Space Unlimited. And if you think about it, the universe is unlimited. It's continuously growing, and it's growing at a pace that we can't even we can't even imagine it. It's so large. And it's every time you think about how large it is, it's actually grown, so it'll continue. And that's infinite space. And we're part of that. And that's now man, Gene Roddenberry, he was so ahead of his time when he said space, the final frontier. That's where we're at. It is literally, we are talking about habitating another planet and we have the tools to do that. And listen, if we just stopped and all worked together and said, you know what, money's not an object, let's just work together and get this done, we'd be on Mars next year. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is politics are kind of holding us back. So do you think politics will shift in the near future? I think they say the mother of invention is necessity. Do you feel like we have a necessity for some better politics? America, you got to remember, was the first democracy. It doesn't mean we're the best democracy. And it's because we've not taken anything and tried to learn from anybody else who's done it. And there's other countries who've done democracy now, and they're doing it well. And, maybe I'm speaking to an American audience. That's why I'm talking this way. I love this country. I'm American as they get. And I think we need some change, some good change. And I think that's going to come because we're in the Aquarian age. And may not be tomorrow. May not be the second we get a new president. I have normal expectations on a lot of things. You also got to remember, just as energy changes, not everybody is moving off of energy patterns. I mean, everything is energy, but some people are moving off of muscle memory. They get up, go to work, get food, come home, sleep, watch TV, right? And they're not going to change that. That's going to be their life will burn out doing that. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't feel I don't have the need to wake everybody up. That's not the purpose of coming. Everybody's not going to wake up. Everybody doesn't need to be hip to what's going on around them. Some people need to teach people how to swim and not become the best swimmer. It's just a fact. Some people need to teach mathematics, not be the best mathematician. And so it's an ebb and flow, and both sides are needed. But the person who's teaching mathematics aren't, they're not pondering mathematics at not always. I should take that back. There are some teachers that are at the forefront of mathematics, but most aren't. They're usually surpassed by their students in their thinking. It's just the reality of things. So let's see. Art says, it's just a matter of time before politics are no longer a factor and people work together globally to build a better world. The technology today is just starting to break down borders for people. It's the governments that will want to maintain borders. I like that. Some people believe that there will be a one world government. And, some people get, ooh, that sounds very Illuminati-ish. Or, but when we say a one world government, like, we have to have some level of government, and government doesn't necessarily have to govern. But we need some communal entity that takes care of infrastructure, period. Just plain and simple. Because I know that I'm not going to go out and build roads. I don't know how to. And there has to be some level of group that wants to take care of the group. See, that's the thing is most of us are day to day taking care of ourselves. So who takes care of all of us? Well, that's just us, but it's with the intentions of taking care of us. And that's all government really is at its fundamental base. Now, obviously, it can get skewed and turn into all kinds of things. But at its base, it just wants to, at its root, at its core, wants to take care of us. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's give you an example. The earliest form of government was if you had a tribe, somebody had to keep the fire going. That's the earliest form of government. It's the person who stayed behind and kept the fire going. Because if you didn't have, it was very difficult to start a fire early on. So in a tribe, you had somebody designated to just keep getting wood and keep getting logs. And that person's intention, all it was to keep that fire going. But that was to make sure that there was a base. So when people came back from hunting and gathering at night, now the sun went down very early, it was no longer safe. You better had a fire going to keep the wolves and the bears and all these other things from taking your food and taking you, bobcats, et cetera, et cetera. It's very important to have a fire. Also, there's some places on the planet, you got a 32-degree shift from day and night. So if you didn't have a fire, you died. So it's very important. But then also, again, what happened is now you had the cook, person who cooked all the food after everybody else gathered and went hunting. That's your form of government, and it's wasn't meant to govern. It was the person who was communally taking care of everybody, while one person was taking care of their specific needs. Now, the guy who's going to hunt, clearly he's hunting for food, hopefully for everybody. Same thing with the people who gather; they're doing their part, and so that's communal living. But the person that they all come back to at the center, that was the government. That was the people who stayed behind and made the teepee. That was the person who washed the utensils in the river, et cetera, et cetera. That was the people who took care of everything for everybody else. And that's where it comes from. Is it? So if you see it there's naturally a need for it. If you look at bees, and ants, these are animals that live civilized in groups. That's why we look at them. They're insects, but they did the same thing. They have a formation around their queen, and it operates outside of the queen, and it's where they get all the different types of ants to work in a community. And of course, where's the government? It's the queen, because everybody reacts throughout with the queen. Same thing. You see the same thing in wolves, bears. They can live. Bears can live communally. They do it from time to time. Same thing with lions. So there's a lot of kind of animals that normally live by themselves, but then figure out how to live communally. And guess what? It's not just a hierarchy. They have a smarter lion, and the more dominant force, the older, stronger lion gets to say, well, naturally, the older, stronger tends to be whatever is the smartest, because it is becomes the dominant gene. It's the one that's surviving, and that's survival, and that's about what government's about. It's about survival. And of course, there's much more evolved problems out of that, clearly, in today's political climate. And but like Art said, is like the governments will want to maintain borders. Well, that's because that's the reach and the power of that government. Can't go any further. So the people who believe in the one world government believe in there has to be one language first, that there has to be a universal language. And listen, there's a lot of people in the world that are coming to this thing called Pidgin. And this language called Pidgin, it's a conglomerate of languages, but what it is it gets rid of all of the difficulty in learning language. So a person could learn Pidgin very quickly because it doesn't use things like we have where, or there, and there. For somebody trying to learn English to have to deal with where, and there, and there. It's very difficult to understand that and comprehend that. And there's so many things just like that in our language that makes English so difficult to learn. But Pidgin, basically, it's predominantly English, but there are not different spellings for words. They're done very simply. We get rid of a lot of silent letters and things that just don't make sense phonetically and language-wise. And so a lot of people believe that Pidgin has the possibility to become the universal language. And many other cultures actually use it today, and it's been around for a while, and it's taught. So, we as America, we are not early adopters to things, and we viciously don't want to give up our routines. I'm not just saying that's us. I mean, the European culture is notorious for it too. Yeah, I'm calling people out left and right. Point is we're moving into the Aquarian age. I think ideas will shift. We're going to recognize that we need things. Like if we're serious about space exploration, we're going to need to come together and share resources. It's all there's to it. And I'm not talking about communism. I'm talking about Star Trek type ish, where money just doesn't matter because we're all using the same resources, and it doesn't matter who you are. We all can eat the same thing because there's food in abundance and plethora. If we're all wearing the same crap and we're not we're all given whatever we want, why do we don't have to fight over anything? So the problem is where I think where communism broke down is, boy, you guys got me on politics. I'm just going to talk about it briefly, was finite resources. So when we figure out how to master our resources, and resources aren't a problem, really doesn't matter what government we choose at that point. Like most of the time, what's government fighting over? Resources, money, debt, right? Well, when all of that's eradicated and we can live in a state where we're prosperous and abundant, and we can really see how to use, like, first off, we got people still mining cotton when we could grow hemp that is just sustainable. Like, how does that make any sense? Hemp's not bad for anybody. But yet we were fearful of marijuana, so we didn't allow farmers to grow hemp. Listen, you can make paper out of hemp, make hemp toilet paper. You can make hemp clothing. You can actually make hemp plastic. So you mean we don't have to mine fossil fuels, and we can grow a sustainable product and make this stuff? And like, hemp grows so fast, you can almost watch it grow. So if we just shifted it the way we thought, you mean we wouldn't have some of these all these problems? So that's really why I'm so hopeful about the Aquarian age, is this shift. And like Art said, the hemp fuel too. Oh yeah, we can use hemp. Oh, listen, we can use water as fuel. We can use air as fuel. Literally, we're such masters of science. You know, listen, when we switch over to flying cars, they're non-resistant. They can float with a little propeller, just like the Jetsons did, right? They gave it to us. Tesla gave it to us. They gave it the formula to operate with less energy, less resources, less resistance. And when everybody can have a piece, guess what? Yeah, of course, we can't put 10 trillion people on the planet. And that's where we might need to start occupying other space. I think that's one of the government's issues, is to worry about overpopulation. But the point is I think we kind of teeter off, and we kind of find other places that we can habitate. And trust me, plenty of people will be like, all right, I'm down, I'll go. You know, I just know it. But so those are the things that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to a universal language. I'm looking forward to a universal government. And again, this ain't gonna happen overnight, clearly. And there people might still butt heads over stuff for a while. But before this 2,600 years is up, I promise you, we're living on another planet too. You know, these are just my predictions. You know, who knows? Maybe somebody will find this YouTube video 1,200 years from now and be like, yo, Nick was a prophet. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm just saying, but you know, like, ultimately we have so many things that are ahead. Like, I got to think Star Trek, man. I got to think Star Wars. I got to think every sci-fi movie we've ever watched, because all of that stuff is in our consciousness, and it's there for us. Like, it's coming. Like, time travel. Like, time travel is not impossible. It might be difficult to go backwards in time, but I promise you, moving forward in time is not a difficult thing. Like, we know it's possible. We've already observed that photons can slip and jump and actually catch up on time. So it's a reality. I'm just saying, it may not be tomorrow, but there's all different kinds of things, man. Like, also, like, can you imagine traveling across, the galaxy? Like, what was that show that was widely popular a long time ago? Stargate, where people were just walking in and out of gates, wormholes, man. Like, our science is right here. These are the things, like, if you haven't been paying attention to our scientific community, like, they've been solving problems left and right. And I'm excited, and I think one of the things, like, the reason we're going back to the moon is because we realize there's no real good way to get heavy objects from Earth into space. So now if we can 3D print stuff from moon dust, you guys don't even understand, like, what that means. Like, we can build colonies in space. And listen, something that weighs 1 billion tons down here in space weighs nothing. I can push it with my finger and keep it going to Mars just from a push. That means no fuel. We don't have to worry about fuel. So like, all the things that we're struggling with now are because we're struggling with old, antiquated ways of doing things. When we let go of the dumb ways of doing stuff, my God, you don't even understand what we're capable of. Think about it. Most people think they pay their electric company to use electricity. Let me let you in on a little secret. You actually get paid for resisting the electricity. You don't pay for electricity. You pay because you're impeding the flow from your neighbor's house to your neighbor's house. Everything you plug in resists electricity, and that's what you're paying for, because it flows through the electrical cord when you're not using it. You just pay for the resistance, how much you stop the flow of electricity. So if you started using products that use less resistance, your electric bill would go down. It would greatly go down. So imagine if we didn't have copper cables, which are very, very resistant to electricity, and we use glass tubes that let electricity flow through. Wait a minute. You mean there's no resistance? Yeah, exactly. Your electric bill would be zero, even though your stuff would work. And this is what Tesla was talking about. Oh yeah, I'm just touching on it. Absolutely. But see, this is funny thing of course, there are a whole other set of advancement issues, but that's the point is where, as we change the way we think and this stuff becomes the norm, that's when we have advancements in society. That's when technology advances us to learning new ways of healing. Medicine is more receptive in space. We just don't stay in space for very long, because once you live in space for any length of period of time, it affects your bones. Just like we become equated to this gravity. You don't understand, or I shouldn't say you don't understand, but we don't understand as our conscious society. We're adaptive. If we put people in water, yeah, exactly. Our fingertips shrivel up, and most people don't have any clue. That's actually so we can grip things and move better. Like, we are super adaptive, and that's the point, is we're super adaptive to our realities. If we live in space, our bones become less dense. We become light. And that's where all this is going, is the fact that when we become light beings, when we start to think light, and I don't just mean the spectrum of light, like I mean light from the type of food we eat, light in the materials that we use. Technology will shift, and the sky's no longer the limit. We will be, and none of this is metaphysical. This is science that we all have right now. And all we have to do is shift our way of thinking and let bureaucracy get out of the way, let politics get out of the way, let lack and fear of resources get out of the way, and start recognizing that if we shift in the way that we use technology, shift in the way that we think of each other in a society, great advancement is already available to us. We can feed the planet. Like, we have the ability to feed the planet healthily right now. That's not it's politics that's holding us back. We have the ability to create sustainable water for everybody. Again, it's politics holding us back. It's boundaries, politics, language, differences, history holding us back. There's so much silica on this planet. It's the number one resource. There's more silica than there is water. We can turn silica into glass. We can turn silica into metal. We can do all kinds of things with we can build anything out of silica right now. Sand is silica, by the way. It's very light in the grand scheme of minerals and materials. And that's what when we talk about moon dust is we can turn moon dust into glass. It's just that simple. So we can create glass spaceships. And when we say glass, I don't mean like you're throw a rock through it. But it's an amazing thing how we can refine stuff now. And we're learning about this 3D printing world. It's not great yet. But again, we're just at the very beginning paragraph of space exploration. We're in the very beginning of sound healing, like to heal with sound. And I know that there's some sound healers in our community who recognize that sound is going to be able to eradicate so many diseases, brain diseases, genetic diseases sound's the key to quite a bit of that. Even using sound for surgery. It's like, and again, Gene Roddenberry thought about this. You know, I think it's funny to keep bringing up Star Trek, but you got to think about what Star Trek was. It wasn't just some silly show about aliens and stuff. It was laying out things that our future could be. Like, they didn't have a problem with color. They didn't have you never heard them talking about what country they were from. Well, not necessarily what country they're from, but when they come back to Earth, they came back to Earth. Let's see. Tish says, years ago, I read Diet for a Small Planet. That and Sugar Blues talk about clean eating and the politics of food additives. Yeah, man. Like, listen, our food industry is fueled by wheat and corn and sugar. And those three industries are so powerful. Guess what? Fuck wheat, fuck sugar, and fuck corn. Because you know what? They're not sustaining human beings. We're using those things for other things. They're fuel. We're using them for fuel. And there's so much wheat on this planet right now. We're not even supposed to eat the wheat. But listen, if you look at a woman's makeup, wheat in makeup. If you look at chemicals, wheat, sugar, and when I say chemical, I mean industrial strength chemical. So Art says Eastern medicine is older than 2,600 years and has been coming back in popularity because how they treat illness is better than the newer medicine, vibration, acupressure. Absolutely. So, well, the thing about that though is it's the combining of using the scientific method as well as, and that's what mostly the Western medicine was all about, the scientific method. It was just basically test. And then we learned this thing about a double-blind study that allowed us to double-blind. I don't know if anybody knows what a double-blind study is. It doesn't mean two people are blindfolded. Double-blind means that we recognize that we affect the outcomes of tests as we are observing them. So we use tests without telling people they're being tested in a certain way, and then we don't have the same people who are doing the test observe them. So the people who are observing them don't even know what they're looking for, so they can't affect the test. So that's why double-blind is so important, is to get any real information, is to recognize that we just by observing something, we screw with it. So it's important as science moves forward to be able to still use the what we learned from doing double blinds, because that gives us a better. Exactly. So, and being tested in the whole placebo effect, etc. Absolutely true. But see, there's so much more to that. And I've mentioned a book before. It's called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, which is a book that is the science of some spiritual stuff, like metaphysical stuff, but the real science behind it, and even how the government, like the whole CIA government thing, but the actual research behind all the stuff that they did, rather than, there's nothing hokey about it. It's an amazing book. But one of the things they really talk about is the placebo effect, and also the effect of intention, or excuse me, not intention, but attention, and how it affects studies and so on. And then also how our psychic abilities and things play into that role. And this is all just purely scientific study. It's a wonderful book. It's called The Field. There's another great book out there too called E = MC squared. It's not a scientific book, but it plays into that realm too. There's also, I think, E = MC cubed, I think is it's a sequel book. But they're also about law of attraction, manifestation, and affecting our reality through our attention. But what's so important about that is to recognize as we make advancements in medicine, like, so if you think about it, there's a new season of Star Trek out, and they use nanotechnology, they use sound healing, like they use lasers. All the stuff that we're talking about is in use in the show. But that came out of somebody's mind somewhere. And if that means it's an idea, that means we're working on it. It's going to be a reality. Like everything we've ever thought about has come to reality, science-wise, you know. I'll tell you right now, a lot of people don't know is my mother 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago, my mother was blind. She couldn't see. And one day a doctor called her. She had some issues with her retinas. Excuse me. She had some issues with her retinas. And a doctor called out of the blue and said, hey, look, we have this new procedure and we think we can, you know, we knew you were going to be blind probably for the rest of your life, but we have this new procedure. And guess what? We can fix your eyes. And my mother she's still legally blind, but she can see well enough to paint and draw and get around. That was a scientific advancement that years before people just didn't believe that there's anything they could do, you know? And here we are. Can you imagine, like, have you not seen any of the videos now where a pair of glasses are giving people the ability, and contacts are giving people the ability to see color when they're colorblind? There are cochlear implants. So deaf people who couldn't hear all their lives can now hear. I mean, think about this stuff. Like, it's amazing where we're at, you know? There's a vaccine for COVID in what? I mean, 6 months? What? You know how long it took them to cure polio? Like, it's an amazing, you know, like it's just amazing where technology is in this realm. And basically, listen, I don't have, it's not high hopes for advancement of humanity. I think we're human already, and our humanity is going to grow because we're going to be worrying about less stuff in the future. Like a lot of the stuff we worry about now is going to be a thing of the past because of technology, because of the advancement of our infrastructure. It will allow us to live in a better sense, communally. The lack of resource, we will learn to do more with less. And, you know, Tesla talked about it, and, you know, we operate at the same frequency as our planet. And if everything is frequency, vibration, and energy, guess what? We are the same frequency and vibration. And, you know, we're going to learn a lot from that. So, you know, I'm excited for all of this. I'm excited for the Aquarian age. I know it's some hokey stuff. And I asked a question earlier in the show is, what does this mean to the average person? What does this mean to the guy who drives a cement truck? Here we go. Holly says the Aquarian age is bringing an awakening connection to the divine feminine and its integration with the true divine masculine, a series of other shows. So I'm all about that balance. I am all about the coming together of the Shekinah, masculine and feminine energy. And that's totality. That's holistic. And that's what the show's about. And that's what Awaken Aware is about, is this diamond is actually, that is a connection of all the masculine and feminine, different combinations. It's holistic. Like the holistic approach to life, is the mind, body, spirit. But our minds, our bodies, and our spirit are both feminine and masculine, and it's absolutely a wonderful thing, as Holly Rose mentions about coming into the divine feminine and its integration. Like it's been a long time coming, you know, and I think as a necessity, the masculine energy prevailed in our less cerebral times. The whole Cro-Magnon beat shit with a rock and stab stuff with spear age might have been necessary to get us to where we're at today. Point is, we don't need that shit today. I mean, we still do in a certain sense, in the giver sense, but it's time to honor the receiver and the feminine energy in all things. Like feminine energy is in everything. It's not just a feminine us as man, woman, or getting in touch with your feminine side. Like if you were to look at the nucleus of any atom, you will see that there is feminine energy. There's feminine, masculine energy. There's positive and negative ions. I don't like to think of it as positive and negative, like one's good or one's bad. It's just a flow of energy. And yeah, so that's a great comment, and recognizing that the Aquarian age is bringing that. Like, it is for another show, because I really want to do. Actually, I will do a show on the whole feminine spirit and the goddess movement and integration of feminine energy into reality, and how we are shifting into that. And I'm definitely going to have a guest for that, maybe even you, Holly, because I would not do it any justice by myself. I'm sure I do okay, but it would be much better to invite the feminine spirit into that. A lot of people, like, I have this tattoo here of Isis, not because I'm into Egyptian stuff, but just because she's the embodiment of wisdom and the feminine spirit and the balance. See, that's not I'm trying to show off my tattoo, but it's just what it has meaning to me. Is the caduceus here is about balance, and when the masculine and the feminine, and the light and the dark, the positive and negative are balanced, that's when we're whole. And coming into the Aquarian age is absolutely that. Like, we've not been whole for a very long time, and that's why we have some of this energy, the stagnant energy in this reality that has given us the caste system. Gosh, can we do away with the caste system? Like, anybody who has to live in the caste, and if people don't know what a caste system is, it's where you're born and you're stuck in your if you were born into poverty, you stay in poverty. You never get to step up into luxury. Some people believe that has to do with your dharma. I don't think so. I think it has to do with just where you were born at, in proximity to. Because I could take the same person, give them an education, and watch them become a king or a philosopher or change the world. So yeah, the caste system, get rid of that shit. And if you're a country doing that, listen to what I said. You're wrong for it. It ain't. I don't care if you've been doing it forever. Guess what? Wake up. It's time to get rid of that shit. Stop treating your people like shit. But it is what it is. So I can't believe I just said it is what it is about the caste system. I'd like to see that go away. I think it's time for that to go away. Things like that. Now, listen, that does not mean that every person is always going to attain the highest levels of reality. It's okay. That's all right. But it's the doors open if they can make it through. And that's what a lot of people believe, even with the caste system, is the door's there. Just people aren't going to walk through it. And even if they did walk through it, they're not ready for what's on the other side. That's Plato in the cave. And it's kind of a reality. People will advance at the level that they're ready for. But the thing is I think there's going to be doors opening up all over the place. All kinds of people are going to be ready to shift into what's next. And to do that, so there's been plenty of people who there's a book called The Saturn Project, which has to do with communal living and giving up some of these old paradigms and shifting into new ones. So we are not stuck on the resource thing. And allowing so is when people don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from, where their next paycheck's coming from, if they can keep the lights on and their homes open. They are capable of transcending what they're stuck through proximity. And proximity, I mean by their civilization. Tish here says, working with the homeless, I see that here. Average people demonstrate ableism and caste mentality. Yeah, there's people who have been indoctrinated, program, and our society kind of pushes it. In America, it's the caste system's not nearly as bad, but I give it a big example of who still uses the caste system is India. In some of their poor states, the caste system is pretty big over there from what I understand. I've never been to India, and I'm not throwing a stone. It may have to work for them because there's so many people there and there's so much going on. I'm not saying that they're wrong for using old mentality. I'm just saying it's time to shift. Like, it's just not right to, for rich people to keep their neck on poor people, allow people to be educated, see what we're all capable of. I think everybody should be, I don't think everybody should be forced to be educated. I think everybody should have the right to education. I think everybody should, has the opportunity to be at all stages of their life. Just because, I don't, that means, oh, you didn't make it to college at 18 doesn't mean the opportunity. I graduated. It's funny. 6 years ago, I graduated from college, and at 33, I was 33 years old. And actually, I just turned 34 when I graduated. But so I wasn't able to go to college at 18. I was in the Army still. So but it was the opportunity showed up later in life, and I'm grateful for that. And I think that's same thing for people at all stages of life should be able to get an education and to be able to do whatever, but also have opportunity after education. Just getting an education is not great if you don't have opportunity. But that's the thing is as we expand our consciousness, as we expand and open up to great, there are ideas that put everybody to work in a capacity that they're capable of to be able to take part in anything. It's just, we have kind of a caste system that sets out, there's 10 jobs. Part of college is they build degrees based on what the government says these are the types of jobs that we need right now, because we know there are companies that are hiring specifically for this. That's it. But we don't pay artists. That's the thing is art is part of our life. It's everywhere. Musicians, we don't pay musicians. But yet we listen to music, and that's the thing is we should value all different avenues where gamers, you think that gamers don't have a place to play or a place in the role of America or excuse me, as life at all. It's absolutely not true. It's entertainment. It's just like an actor. Look how much we pay entertainers. Gamers are entertainers. They keep people entertained. Tish says, Americans are so afraid of socialism, as if it's the devil. They don't know. People would rather give billions to corporate structure than to give money to help their neighbors. Well, it's not Americans. It's the system. The system is designed to preserve itself. And so that's all it is itself. It's a death rattle. It's an old system trying to hold on to power because it was there for a long time. And it was necessary for a long time in the past, in the 1900s, in the 1800s. It was necessary. It was necessary. It was the military-industrial complex. It was meant to keep us safe from people who wanted to do harm in the world because they had power. So, and it's trying to preserve itself because it's kind of smart and worked. But that's so. 20 years ago, was it capable of getting out from underneath of itself? No. But that's coming into the Aquarian age. People are going to be able to perceive differently, be able to fathom bigger ideas, to be able to recognize, see connections that they weren't seeing before, to recognize that we're supposed to be a lighter humanity, light beings, light bodies, light minds, light energy. We're coming into a light state. And that's, I think, I'm going to dare to make a prediction is ultimately 2,600 years from now, we're going to be light bodies. We'll have transcended. What I mean light bodies is we'll be in space. It's a light body, right? Think about it. Everybody will say, oh, a light body. Oh, that means we're going to transcend and turn into light. No, we're just going to get lighter, 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 lighter. And eventually, so if we lived in space, we talk about those elongated aliens who's, that's because they aren't being held down by gravity. Yeah, we'll get taller. We'll get thinner. We'll get lighter. We'll have to eat less food. We'll get, you see them on, if you ever watch any kind of sci-fi thing. Yeah, we'll be there. 2,600 years, we'll have evolved. We evolved very quickly. Listen, humans rapidly change to their environments. So once we start doing space exploration, I mean, you got to think about it. If we're 500 years into space exploration, yeah, our bodies will have shifted. Our children, each generation our children will grow an inch, will eventually be 7, 8, 9 feet tall and very thin. That's just the natural, like, that's science, man. I ain't talking metaphysics or fantasy. That's not fantasy at all. That's where we're headed. We will become light bodies. And when we start eating these light body diets, like highly dense, nutritious living foods, non-animal products, and our bodies are going to react to that. We'll have superpowers. It's just the reality of things. It's when we are not being polluted with radio energy all around us. We'll be able to pick up on cosmic waves, and our third eyes will wake up to that. When you live out in space, it's a reality. You know, machinery noise, you don't hear it, but you really do hear it because it is affecting you. It is in an audible decibel range that your body can pick up, and it affects your sleep pattern. That's why we're all on the same sleep patterns. We're all in bed by 5 a.m. and up at the same times, et cetera, et cetera. It's because we're picking up, we're affected by machine noise. It's everywhere. Cars going by, factories, stores, you name it, heaters, boilers, all kinds of stuff. All of that stuff, we don't recognize how much noise has an effect on us. And one of the things about coming into the Aquarian age is actually recognizing these sound patterns. The last age was very much about light. This one's going to be about sound. It's just like the last one was very much about water. This one's going to be about air. So these are some not just predictions, but some people much smarter than I have already not planned this out, but really pondered and meditated on what our future reality is going to be like. And there were plenty of people have talked about this, like they suspect that we'll be translucent. Maybe by the year 2600, we'll be translucent people. I mean, you'd be able to see through us. Why? Is because of some of the stuff that we eat, and we also won't get sun regularly. If you're out in space, we'll be moving around. We may not be near our sun, and that would change us to probably some different type of light. I know this stuff sounds so. Some people are like, oh my God, you got to be crazy to be thinking like that. No, I'm thinking in 2600 years, what it'd be like from now moving into the next zodiac frame, as we move into this new zodiac frame, as we move into the Aquarian age, as we now become the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And, I'm looking forward to it. I probably got double my life experience. I don't know. Who knows how long I'll live. I won't put a cap on it, but in this physical body. But I know that I'm going to see some amazing things because I know technology is right at that cusp. I can kind of take a guess as to what's coming in the next 10 to 20 years. And again, the technology is amazing, but really the only thing it's bureaucracy that's holding it back. It's economy of scale that's holding it back. It's an old way of thinking. I'm an economist. That's what I went to school for. And I believe in it, but it's not the only way. And as a matter of fact, it's a way that needs to be balled up and thrown away of thinking. It's the same reason to say, oh, well, we got tons of bushels of wheat and it's got this value, but we got all the sand over here that we're not using. Now, it's not going to hurt anybody to get sand, but yet we could build everything out of sand. You could build your car out of sand. It's the craziest, but we don't. Why? Is because there's an aluminum industry that says they're just paying the politician, lobbying the politician to make sure he stays in power because he wants to build $1 billion house. A guy that owns Mittal Steel, he built $1 billion house. Not a million. He built $1 billion house for his wife. One person has $1 billion house. Can you imagine the amount of resources that went into one house for one person that could have you know how many houses you could build with $1 billion? See, that's problematic thinking. I'm glad they built a huge Tower of Babel, but that's the issue is we have to use aluminum to build everything. It's a highly toxic process to make aluminum. but we can make stuff out of silica and carbon that's just as strong and doesn't have the same toxic impact on the environment. And yet we don't, because of politics, because of the status quo. And this is what I'm the thing that I'm most looking forward to in the Aquarian age is to get rid of bureaucracy, to get rid of the status quo, for everybody to be able to see that technology can help us, not hurt us at every step of the way. You know, I mean, one of the things I could not believe is how our president said, let's go back to coal. Are you really? For 60 years, I mean, if you just looked at history, there were people dying in London because of coal. Everything they burned was coal. And the second there was a fog, there was people just dying, dropping dead in the streets because of the smog, because it couldn't escape. Really? Come on. See, that's where government just says, oh, let's just take care of ourselves. That's the kind of, we can't think that way anymore. We need to think is, how do we keep everybody healthy? How do we keep everybody happy? How do we advance our civilization? And these ideas, I think, will be more readily available to people because we're coming into the Aquarian age, because we are moving into an air sign, because we are now accessing our feminine energies, that we are now being open to the whole picture rather than just half the picture. And that's going to be huge changes, huge changes. People are going to, I really feel like people are going to put their hands out, and some of the old ways of thinking are just going to dissolve. They're not just going to, they're going to be seen for what they are. I think racism is just going to be a thing of the past. Like, I really don't think it needs to come to head where everybody's got to be educated and re-educated at such and such. That's not the pay. I mean, I got a feeling it's just going to dissolve. And when I say dissolve, it's not going to instantly happen. No. And it may not be in our lifetime, you know, because some of us are already midpoint. When I say in our, but very nearly in the future. Like, it's just going to be a thing of the past. It just is. It's already been dissolved. I mean, it still exists. Clearly, it's been shown that it exists. And I'm not trying to downplay that it's not here and still doesn't have a role in our environment. But the thing is it clearly doesn't play a role that helps reality. It's not the dominant force. It's not the alpha male anymore. It's an old paradigm. It's a way of, we've already proved that genetically over time, it makes you a weaker race. It's just not. So, you know, you just can't breed the same thing over and over again. It eventually becomes unpure, and you have all kinds of defects from doing that. We're a multicultural. We recognize our strength is in our diversity as human beings. And that's one of the, you can go back to Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek again, man. It's not only racist, man, they have aliens on their ships, and it's just showing the openness to the diversity and how their advancement of science and technology was appreciating it from different cultures. And that's what we need. And just like we were talking about with the medicine earlier on, that's exactly it. Is if we can start to recognize that every culture, every race has something beautiful to contribute to our humanity and our societies, we're just going to be better for it. And again, I think that's where we're headed for. And I like to see what the foundation. Here we are at the cornerstone, and, you know, kind of coincides with us in this country having a new president and hopefully a new government, and recognizing that this could be the cornerstone foundation of the new Aquarian age. And I hope it's good. I got high hopes for civilization. I have high hopes for humanity. I have high hopes that this construct of light and sound and energy will do better for people who choose, for the conscious entities that choose to come to this realm to experience life. Don't have to be put into slavery. Don't have to be put in indentured servitude. Don't have to live feeling less than or over experiencing the abundance of fear. It's not necessary. You have little doses of fear. Get on a roller coaster. For the things that you want to experience in life, we will have it. It'll be more evenly divided. People will be equals. These are things that I have high hopes for and look forward to. So anyhow, so I'm going to end the show here. It's been a wonderful show. I appreciate the people who, the community, the Awake and Aware community. I appreciate the growing of the Awake and Aware page. The all the new people showing up in the community, the Awake and Aware group. I'm excited. It's just continuously growing every day. I want to see any of your questions or ideas for the community, the show. You can either put them in Facebook. In a couple hours, this will be up live on YouTube. This looks like a good one. What do we got here? Holly Rose says, reality is ultimately a selective act of perception and interpretation. A shift in our perception and interpretation enables us to break old habits and awaken new possibilities for balance, healing, and transformation. David Simon. Hey, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. You're talking my language. Yes, very much so. That's if everybody just understood that, if everybody shifted into that reality as their reality, like, could you imagine what our humanity would be like just now? Like, because first off, that's a possibility. Let me give you an example why it's a possibility. A lightning bolt strike is just positively charged ions of air. Can happen anywhere, anytime, and there is nothing stopping it from happening all the time. I mean, our whole universe could just be one big lightning strike that killed everybody on the planet. That's scientifically possible, but for some reason it doesn't happen. But guess what? Our consciousness could do the same thing. What if everybody just flipped over and all of a sudden said, let's be positive and recognize that we're here and we're all interconnected. It's no different than the poles shifting on the planet. Is eventually north is going to become south and south is going to become north. It's just going to happen. Like one day it's just going to happen. Everything that you thought was north is now going to become south, and everything that's south is going to become north. There's nothing we can do about it. But so yeah, we need a polarity shift. We need a paradigm shift. And what better time is to happen? And that's not supposedly, but that's what has been highly anticipated in the Aquarian age is a paradigm shift. And that's what I'm so looking forward to, and all these technology advancements that we've talked about, social advancements, and medicine advancements are because of paradigm shifts, not because of technology taking some huge advancement and all of a sudden microprocessors getting this big. It's because we just shifted the way we thought about what we already have, what's already available to us. And you just, I mean, when we think about the three billionaires that we all know about, Jeff Bezos started in a garage, Steve Jobs started in a garage, and Bill Gates started in a garage. There's three guys who started a company in a garage and are billionaires. I need to go start working in the garage. But my point is they had a paradigm shift. They did. None of those three guys thought like anybody else. They ultimately thought completely different than everybody else, and they had a paradigm shift. And look at how they changed their realities. But then because of that, they were able to change the realities of the people around them. Well, guess what? That's going to continue to happen. We've got people, but the difference is it's not just going to be the for-profit paradigm. That's dead. It's dead. It's clear. It's not working for humanity. It'll linger for a while, and of course, it'll death rattle. It'll try to hold on for as long as it can, but it doesn't matter. And the reason being is people will shift looking for the new next greatest best thing, and that's not going to come from the purely for-profit paradigm. It's going to come from the thinker Tesla. He changed all. I couldn't be doing any of this if it weren't for Tesla. Paradigm shift. One man changed the world. Didn't think like anybody else. Guess what? But he was a one of. But we're moving into an age where many of us are going to be able to, that's going to become the norm. Can you imagine? I can. So to be conscious means to be awake and aware of one's surroundings. Means to be the connection of mind, body, and spirit. To be conscious means to be energy aware of itself. I'm going to leave you with that. It's been a great show. Thanks for having us. This is Awake and Aware. I'm up.